On this episode of Camp Outside, we're going to do some repair to the cargo camper, and we're going to replace some of the lights. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Camp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Well, today I am working on the cargo camper. So one of the things about buying a used trailer, no matter what kind of trailer it is, whether it's a boat trailer, a cargo trailer, a camper, whatever it is, oftentimes you're going to have to do a lot of different little repairs. One of the things I noticed on my last big summer trip was that some of the lights had started to fail on the cargo camper. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace some lights today. If you haven't seen my videos on the cargo camper, I'm going to put a link to the playlist right up here where you can check that out. It is a 7x14 cargo trailer that has been converted into a small camper with also a large area for hauling all of our cargo. So the first light we're going to fix on this trailer is the Fender marker light. Now, for this one, I think it's just the light that's bad, not the whole mount and everything else. So I just bought a light. It has two little connectors on the back. We're going to pop the old one out, put the new one in, and see if it lights up. All right, that's all there was to it for that one. So one of the telltale signs is when the light itself starts to get really foggy and you can see some moisture and condensation on the inside of the light. That means that it's probably going bad. So in this case, I figured that I didn't have to replace the socket or the mount for the light. It just needed the light itself. I could order the full thing though if I needed to, and I might end up ordering one just in case I need a spare, but really there's probably no need. The one on the other side is good. It's just this one that started to get cloudy. So I think we're set with Fender marker lights. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, our next light, we're going to do the license plate light. So what I want to do is go ahead and take the housing off the new light and put it on the old socket and see if it works. If not, we'll change out the whole light. So here you can see the license plate light is operational. It's just missing the lens. So we'll go ahead and put the lens on and see if that works. Okay, so while the lens did go on, I have a giant gap right here. So this lens does not fit this light well. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the whole light. Okay, so the first step is going to be to take the light off. Okay, so here's what sucks about doing wiring for trailers, is they never give you enough wire to tap in to what's going on. So what they did was they gave you about that much wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this wire as close to the light fixture as I can so that I have just a little bit of wire to work with to connect. Otherwise, I won't be able to replace the wire without peeling back everything inside the trailer. So I really wish trailer companies would foresee that lights are going to fail and just give us a little bit of extra wire. I mean, come on, what is it, a couple cents for, an extra foot of wire or something? But they don't, so thanks a lot, guys. We're going to make this as hard as possible. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to cut that wire as close to the fixture as I can get it. Okay. So there we go. That is all the wire I have to deal with. Okay, so we can take a close-up look at what we're dealing with. So here is the new light. And if you notice, it has two wires coming out of it. And here is the old light, and as you can see, it was all busted even though it glowed. So I probably could have forced this down but this was no longer attached to this post, and so I went ahead and decided to replace it. Now what they did was, if you notice, there was a black wire and a white wire. The white wire is ground. They just attached it to the screw, and so that's how they got ground. If I was redoing this trailer from scratch, I would have run wire grounds all the way back to the plug. That's what I do on all of my boat trailers because I hate grounding to a chassis because it eventually will fail. I don't really have that option this time, so I will go ahead and cut this white wire on the new light and ground it to the screw. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape and solder the new wire onto the old wire. And I'm actually going to leave a lot of this wire intact and just push it back through the hole. That way, if someone ever backs into my trailer, or God forbid, I back my trailer into something and I smash this light, I'll be able to replace it a lot easier next time. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the area where the light came off, because this was the back side and the trailer is filthy itself. But for now, I'm going to get to work on wiring this in so that I can at least attach it and then seal it up and all that stuff. So let's get to work. All right, guys, so we're back to work on the lights for the cargo camper. I just did the license plate light. What a pain in the butt that light was, because they only gave us about that much extra wire sticking out when I had to cut the old light off to put the new one on. I went ahead and did that without filming it because I was trying to figure out how I was going to do everything and I couldn't get in there with the camera in the way. But I'm going to be able to show you how I do the brake light on the right hand side. So let's move over and take a look at that. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've got the running lights on the trailer. They're illuminated up top, but no light on the brake lights. So clearly this light needs to be replaced. Let's get it open and take a look at what we're going to do. The first step is to just remove the screws. These have 8-point screws, so I just use a square bit on a driver. Okay, now with the light hanging, you can see, again, not a whole lot of wire to work with here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to cut them all as close to the light as I can, and then we'll work by soldering the shortest wire first and then work our way out. Okay, now that I have the light removed, I'm going to go ahead and clean up around where the new light's going to go before I start wiring. You want to make sure that you do not lose this ground wire. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a clean there. I'm going to grab that ground wire just so I make sure I don't lose it. And really with this, I mean, it's going to get dirty under there again anyway. I just like to clean it just with a wet rag. It's probably just OCD, but I can't help myself. Okay, and so what I've noticed is that I have a few little surface rust spots from where that light sits. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put the light on. I'll go ahead and solder it in. I'll put it on. But I'm going to come back at some point in time, and I'm just going to touch this up in the area under the lens with some rust inhibitive paint. I just don't want to leave that. I just don't have any with me today, so I can come back and take the light off at some other time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend these wires so that when I pull it out, I can pull the light away from there and get under it pretty easily. Now it's time to strip the wires and get everything ready for soldering. Okay, now it's time to prep the wires on the light itself. Okay, as you can see there, now I've got them stripped and twisted, and so it's ready to put them on. I'm going to get the heat shrink on though before I solder them up. Okay, now that I've got the heat shrink tubes on the wires, I'm going to go ahead and connect them one at a time and solder them up. We'll do the ground wire, the white wire first, since it's the one that will be the most difficult. And as I wait for my soldering iron to warm up here, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this soldered up. Okay, so there we have it. And I'll admit, I am not the best solderer in the world, guys, but it'll do. I'm going to move the shrink wrap over it. Once it cools down just a little bit, I'm going to wire up the other ones and get them soldered. Okay, these should be a lot easier. One, because I have a little more wire, and two, because the soldering iron is already hot. And keep in mind, guys, this is really hot. If you've never soldered before, you do not want to touch the business end of a soldering iron. Okay, so now it's time to unplug the soldering iron. We'll switch over to the heat gun and do the heat shrink. All right. Okay, guys, now we just take a heat gun and evenly run it over the heat shrink, and that'll shrink it down and seal it. All right, next step will be to screw it back in and test it out. All right, so we're gonna feed the wires in back through the hole, nice and carefully. There we go. That wasn't good. pop that lens cover back on. All right, let's see if it lights up. All right, we've got running lights. Next, we'll check brakes and turn signals. Looks like we've got brake lights. And there we have turn signals. So, looks like we have a successful light replacement there. Okay guys, well I only have one more light to do. Every other light is working on this trailer. The bummer is, it's that marker light up there, and I hate ladders. But I gotta get up there and get it. So one of the things that might be happening, guys, is that that light might be just fine. It might be a ground issue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop the lens off. I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna wiggle it around and see if I can get it to illuminate. If I can, it's probably just a ground issue where I'll take it off, make sure the ground wire is wrapped around that ground screw really well, and screw it back in and see if it illuminates. If not, I've got a light for it, and we'll go ahead and replace it. Sometimes these lenses don't want to pop off, especially after they've been on there a while. And the person who installed these lights ran a bead of silicone around the top to keep them sealed. So getting this off might be a little bit of a problem. I may end up breaking it, in which case I'm just going to replace the whole thing. Okay, so that didn't come off so bad, but wiggling it around certainly didn't cause it to illuminate. Looks like I'll probably be replacing this light. And how do you like that? A bunch of wire. That's fantastic. So the side marker light that I got that replaced this is this one, and it comes with these little plug-in deals. I don't even know what to call them, but I'm gonna cut those off because I don't need them. And of course I got to pick them up off the floor, because if not, my dogs will eat them. Okay guys, so there's a couple things you need to do to prep this light before you're ready to install it. The first thing is to carefully pry off the lens, because the mounting holes are underneath the lens. So the only way to put this light on is to remove the lens carefully. I just use a little flathead screwdriver and just carefully pry it off. That way you don't break it or crack it when it goes back on. The second thing is that it has two wires, and we're not running a wired ground system. We're running a chassis ground system where you basically just wrap the ground wire around one of the mounting screws to drill it into the trailer, and then the trailer itself, the metal of the trailer, is the ground. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the white wire, which is the ground, and we're going to want to back it out of where it's shoved through the hole there. Okay, so we're just backing it out and pulling it out the front. What we're going to do then is we're going to run it. Turn around here. We're going to run it this way, and we're going to strip it right here, and we're going to attach it to that ground screw, so that when we put the screw back in to screw this back onto the trailer, it will ground the light. The other one obviously will get soldered up, and that's what will feed the power to the light when the lights are on. The other thing that was really weird about this is that they didn't use the mounting holes for the previous light to mount it to the trailer. They just drilled through the plastic with self-tapping metal screws. So I'm not really sure why they did that. I don't think I'm going to use the original holes. I think I'm going to go ahead and run the screws through the mounting screws of this light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little dab of silicone and I'm going to fill those screw holes just so that no water ever gets in there if I'm driving through a driving rain or that kind of thing. I just think it would be too difficult to match up those holes, and so I don't want a light that's just, you know, cockeyed because I missed. So not sure why they did that, but it's just one of the things that you're going to deal with when you're working on a used trailer. We'll go ahead and fill those holes with some silicone and then get this ready to go. Okay guys, I got the holes silicone closed and I let that dry a little bit. I've got the wire stripped and ready to solder, so I'm going to do that now. Then move the heat shrink up and hit it with the heat gun, and then I'll be ready to mount the light again. So here we go. Okay, we'll let that cool off, move the heat shrink up, and blast it with the heat gun. Okay, so since I'm going to be drilling new holes, I'm using the self-tapping metal screws that was on the original light. I'm going to go ahead and get my drill out to go ahead and drill those in. I'm going to try and get it as straight as I can on there. Hopefully it won't be crooked, but I'm just going to freehand it. I'm not going to run like a level or anything like that. And hopefully once we get her attached, we'll test the lights again, and hopefully we'll be done with this project. Let's get her mounted. All right, guys, as you can see, that side marker light is now working. We are good to go. All the lights are working on the cargo camper. Man, I'm excited to be done about this. So we are leaving next weekend for a Thanksgiving camping trip, a whole week up at Fort Mountain State Park in Chatsworth, Georgia. So that's north of Atlanta. We're going to go spend some time with some really good friends who are going to camp with us. Really excited about that. I'm going to do my full Thanksgiving dinner from the campsite. Really excited. But this time of year, when you're camping this time of year, you know that it gets dark at like 5:30 at night. And so if you're doing any driving where you're driving for any length of time, you're going to be running your lights on the trailer. And guys, it's just safe to make sure that all of your lights work. You not want somebody not paying attention on the highway and sideswiping your trailer because your side marker lights don't work, or that your brake light doesn't work, or your turn signal light, or that kind of thing. So always make sure that your lights are working. And if they're not, guys, you don't have to pay someone to replace your lights. You can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. It's not that hard. As you can see in the video, just a little bit of solder, a little bit of heat shrink, and a little bit of figuring out how you're going to do it, because they don't leave you a whole lot of extra wire on these trailers. But as you can see, with the way I did it now, if I need to replace that light again, I'll have more wire in those lights. So I'll be able to go ahead and replace those a whole lot easier next time. So guys, thanks for watching Camp Outside. Like I said, you can do this. If you've got a trailer, a boat trailer, a cargo trailer, an equipment trailer, a camper, whatever, you can change out your lights yourself. Go ahead and give it a try. And if you want to, a little bit of bonus is get your kids to help you. They'll probably hate you for it, but they'll thank you later on if they ever own a trailer. Guys, Camp Outside exists to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. We want to help you get you and your kids outside. So if you have any questions at all about equipment maintenance or cargo conversion for a camper, or anything, drop something in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. You can connect with us on our other social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, or on our website at kempoutside.com. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.